hopefully we'll get some snow tonight, and if we do, it'll just do a nice little dusting down here and then give us some more interest instead of just all the brown down there, and then maybe a little bit of dusting on the rocks as well. It's definitely going to get cold enough. It's going to be out in the high 20s, like 27, 28 degrees tonight. So no problem with it being cold enough. It's just a matter of the precipitation happens and the snow, we get just the right amount, not too much so that we can't get here and the roads are just ridiculous, and not too little where it doesn't amount to anything. So fingers crossed. Well, good morning. We did get just the powdering of snow on the ground. So there's just, it'd have been nice to have just maybe a little bit more, but you can see up on the flat areas of the rock, it's got this like sugar coating on it. So I'll definitely take it. It's definitely nicer than not having it. Got to be careful I don't slip. I did not bring any kind of traction for my shoes because I'm stupid. I forget. Man, I just keep forgetting everything. So totally my fault. So I definitely want to get set up roughly in the same place I was last night. It's just such a great spot to shoot from. I might do more of a pano to get more of the larger rock tonight. Just testing my footing. It's actually just snow. It's not really ice, but it's slippery in spots. And take a look down in there where I was shooting last night. So that shot right there, I think is really pretty, just like that. So I'm gonna set up like right here, pretty much get this shot, because I think all of this snow over here on the right hand side, and then all the snow just coating down in the bottom of the canyon there, or the valley, looks really, really nice. I love the snow on the pass, on the trails. It made great leading lines along with the river. So now we're getting some color in the sky. The sun's rising back that way, but over there it's starting to pick up some pinks and purples. It's nice. The main view that way to my left is not as great as what it is now. So I'm going to take this while my sky is still going to be good, because that looks really nice. Like it a lot. It's really, really cool. So I'm just taking one shot, and I think I can probably get it in one, but I am taking one that's a little underexposed just to make sure I don't lose any detail in the sky. And then I'm taking one as bright as I can just to get as much shadow detail out of this rock on my right, because it is kind of dark over there. And that way I'll have the best of everything. I won't have to worry about it. So these shots come out, I'll show it to you right now. All right, there's kind of lining up my next shot. The clouds are just catching just a little bit of color, not a lot, but a little. So what you're seeing on the video is pretty much what I'm getting on the camera. I'm a little bit wider, 16 millimeters here. Conditions are like really, really nice though. That little dusting of snow I think really, really helps on the mountains. And then you add that with the reds and the oranges and then the blues from the clouds, and it's just really, really pretty. I'm going to do a pano too. So I've got this in the can. So let's double check a couple things. I'm going to take my polarizer off. Never ever shoot a pano with a polarizer on, because you'll be sad, especially if the polarizer is actually doing anything, because it'll be patchy as you make your pan. Now the clouds are even catching just a little bit more color. It's not a lot, but it's a little. Definitely showing up. Definitely showing up. 1, 2, 3, and then one more, 4. All right. So the light came back out. As you can see, the sun is absolutely just doing a great job side lighting. You see the shadows, those dynamic shadows. That's why you really like that early morning light, because it's raking across the scene and it's creating a side light and it's giving some depth to the image, which is really, really nice. As the sun gets higher in the sky, those shadows go away and then everything just becomes harshly lit, not so good. There's a big dynamic range though between the river bank down in the where the sun isn't hitting and then up here where the sun is. You just got to be careful of that so that you don't totally crush those shadows, or you don't blow out the brightest part where the rock is the brightest and it's being reflected, because then that would just kind of ruin your photograph. I'm going to walk around a little bit more, find some other spots to shoot from. It's such an epic location. And if you'd like to join me, I'm having a workshop here this year. Go to my website, www.jamesparkerphoto.com, and go to the workshops tab, and you'll be able to see all my upcoming workshops. And we're going to be spending some time this year back at Smith Rock State Park and John Day Fossil Beds, which in the Painted Hills, which is where we're going today after we get finished here. Most important thing, hot coffee. So you might have noticed in a couple of videos, if you watch the channel, I've been looking for gloves that would keep my hands warm in the wintertime. And I ordered these from Amazon. And they have an inner liner, the liner that I actually put on here, but it has fingerless. The fingerless part that you can see is actually the part of the heated glove. It's got a battery pack that sits here in the wrist, and then you got a control here that you can adjust the heat settings. And granted, it wasn't like below 0 today, it was only in the 20s, but my hands are always cold, and these actually did a fantastic job. Now I will say that right now my battery is already down by it looks like 50%, and I've had it on high. That doesn't make me happy that it's been only a couple of hours and it's already halfway done. But if it lasts for 4 hours, then maybe that's okay. Anyway, I'll put a link to these gloves in the description below if you want to go check them out. They weren't super expensive, and even without the heat, the fact that these are mittens that you can fold back, it's got magnets on it, and then you can tuck your hands into this nice fleece lining under here, your fingers back in, and zip it up when you're not having to operate the camera is fantastic. And it's got a thumb as well, which is really nice when you're trying to operate the controls on the camera. Back at Steelhead Falls. No snow down here for whatever reason. It just didn't reach, wasn't in the right place. It was too warm, but regardless, it's still, the light is much better. It's actually really, really good to do a waterfall. And I'm gonna do my first shot from pretty much this type of an angle. I love this tree that I've got going over here. It's on my right-hand side, and I love that I've got on the left-hand side, this little side fall is gonna frame that nicely. So let me get set up. It won't take me but a minute. I'm gonna get a couple shots from here, then I'm gonna go back to where I was yesterday afternoon, get some photos from there as well. But the big thing on the waterfall, like I say all the time, if you're new to the channel, and that is your shutter speed is king. That's what you're gonna wanna set all your other settings around. And that water's, there's a lot. And so you get the look in the water that you want. And then once you do that, you dial in whatever else you have to make that work. For wide angle shots, probably stay around f8, f11, depending on what's in your foreground. Then you use your ISO just to balance out that exposure. It's that simple and in that order. There's my composition. Maybe I'll brighten it up just a little bit if that'll help. But I love this vantage point. It's a little bit higher than I was yesterday, and it puts the stream coming out of the top left, following that nice diagonal to the center, which is where my waterfall is. And then I've got my tree on the right that's going to help frame that side. And then I've got just a little bit over here in the bottom left, I've got the other waterfall that's going to kind of frame that side. I'm shooting a little bit wider. You notice there's probably just a little bit of sky on the top, which I don't mind. It's just white, it's cloudy, but there's no direct light on the falls, and that is key, because yesterday the falls were just unphotographable. You just couldn't do it. So this shot's going to look great, I think. And if the shot comes out, I'll show it to you right now. Shooting straight onto the falls like this is nice as well. I'm going to cut out as much of the sky as possible. I already know that I'm going to do a 16:9 is the look that I'm going for, more of a pano, slimmer look, because the fall is so wide. I think it'll work really well. I've already got my shutter speed kind of dialed in. About 1/10 of a second is where I like. At f11, because everything is pretty far out there except for a little bit that's around these edges, because I am getting around because it's so wide. And then dial in the ISO just to make it work. I've got a polarizer on so I can bring out the greens and get rid of all the sheen on the water, which is making it look really, really good. As you can see, as I turn the polarizer, unpolarized, and how awful that is with all the glare on the water in the foreground. And then as I pull it off, wow, that is just a huge difference, right? And so that's where I want to live on this shot. It's totally polarized, so down in here it's all nice and dark, and I got all the colors that I want. This is the Painted Hills. It is amazing. It's very, very awesome. This is the main overlook. It's part of the John Day fossil beds outside of, it's very close to Mitchell, Oregon, which is an extremely small town. So it's still a ways from sunset, but with all the good light, not good light, but with all the amount of light I've got, the sun is actually, you can see, maybe see the shadow that I'm casting. I thought I'd get the long lens out because this is a really wonderful place to use a long lens and then zoom in to 300, 400 millimeters, or even 200, just to pick out the patterns and the gradations of those incredible colors on those rock formation in the hills on the opposite side, way over there. So the main thing that I'm going to be looking at are, again, I'm going to be zooming in, and I'm going to, those fingers that look like extruded clay from Play-Doh, that's the reds and the oranges and the greens and the yellows, and the way that they look like mud is flowed and then hardened. And that's kind of actually what it is. It's very, very hard. And it's got texture like, it looks like scales almost. You're not allowed to get on it. You're not allowed to walk on it. You can't get out there. This is as good as it gets. But with a long lens, you can really come away with some nice abstract stuff that I think is awesome. I'm going to show you the photos that I came away with right now when the sun is still pretty high in the sky. As you can see how it's hitting my face. And then in a couple hours, I'm going to come back. The sun's going to almost be set, and it's going to be a lot more dramatic looking and a totally different look. And that's when I'm going to pull out the wider angle lens and get some wider shots that include hopefully some clouds, maybe some color, and a lot more of the landscape. The wind is like really cold, like really cold. But the light is starting to really get really nice as it starts to skim across the hills in the background. And the light is with that dark sky in the background with it's gonna look amazing because the light is hitting the subject, but the background's already dark. And so it's just gonna draw the eye right to the center. And also, if you look here in the foreground, the light is hitting these boulders. So I've got some shots with the boulders in the foreground, and I'm not too sure how those are going to work, simply because I don't want the boulders to become the subject, and because the hills are so far away compared to how close that boulder is. It's a balancing act between how big it is in the frame. Even though it's not sunset yet, all the light is gone. It's all gone from the hills and that whole valley, so it's pretty flat lighting. It's not nearly as good as it was earlier. We still got those really dark clouds, but I'm not going to get any better photos than when the light was really good. And as you can see, as we look back toward where the sun is setting, it's setting behind that wall of clouds, and it's not going to light up anything. It's too low to light up anything there. So I'm going to call it a day. Head back to the van, gonna make some dinner, have a beer, and get warm. I know that I got some really beautiful photographs tonight. Great light, fantastic subject matter, all good things. And I'm gonna show you my favorites from this evening right now.